Is there anybody out there?
The lights in the night sky. Skywatchers. We're watching.
Did you see that?
Here on engagelife.fm.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Skywatchers. This is your host, Debra Jayne East, and I am so happy to be here tonight. And I have my buddy from across the water, Derek Savory, with us again. And we talked to him a few weeks ago about things that happened in Rendlesham Forest. And at that time, we were only a half-hour show. And I'm glad to say now that we're doing an hour. And I am happy to get to talk to him again about some things that are going on. Derek, thank you so much for joining us. How are you doing this evening?
Hi, I'm okay, thank you. Yep, hope you can hear me and understand me loud and clear.
Yeah, you're sounding good. The last time we were talking, you were telling us about some things that happened when I think you and your brother and some other family members went out into the forest. Can you tell me what's going on right now? I know that people still go out there. Is it on a daily basis, weekly basis that people go to the forest?
Well, there's a lot of different groups that go there. Me and my group, and I normally go with Brenda Butler, which is probably one of the best investigators as far as Rendlesham is concerned there is. She was investigating it a full year before the 1980 events. I normally go with her and a few other people. And obviously, especially through the summer, we have a lot of groups of people join us. But besides us, there's paranormal groups that go there, and also there's pagan groups that go there. There's quite a selection of groups. What we've started doing now, which is only just over the last sort of couple of months really, is bringing everybody together. So when we go out now, we've got like a pagan with us sometimes. We have white witches with us sometimes. We have paranormal. And for instance, the latest paranormal thing that I've brought is a spirit box. Now, most UFO people don't use spirit boxes as such.
Can you explain to us? Can you explain to the listeners what a spirit box is exactly?
Right, a spirit box is normally used by paranormal people to speak to spirits. It picks up on a certain frequency, and you scan, and if you're close to spirit, you talk, and that picks up them talking back to you. Believe it or not, I've heard some of these recordings, and I was just astounded, absolutely gobsmacked, when I heard what these paranormal people have got. So I've since bought one. I haven't used it there yet because I've got to practice with these things. Obviously, to get used to using them. But basically, the spirit box is really good. You have a separate recorder and you record the sounds. But basically, spirits talk to you. My hope is that I can do it with the ETs, because we have so many different things we see at Rendlesham. Every week we go, something else seems to be there. I mean, my biggest encounter was with shadow soldiers, monks, a giant, and some small ETs. But all of them were hologram types. Not solid things, they were hologram types. But there was three of us that see them at the same time. There's me, my brother, and my son. And these things, since then, have just blown me apart. I thought, what are we dealing with? And
well, that's quite a collection of people that you have there, you know, the pagan groups and the paranormal. Do you think that there's any professional people, like from the Air Force or any type of things like that are still coming out to the forest to investigate things, or is it just people, you know, from all over the groups?
We've had some strange people turn up, shall I say, like suited and booted people, obviously not dressed for walking around the forest, basically, and they've turned up, brand new fancy car. One of them, for instance, carried a briefcase around all the time. And what the hell he had in a briefcase to walk around the forest for, who knows, right? Obviously they disguise themselves quite well, these people, but you wouldn't believe who we come across there, honestly.
Oh, yeah, I bet there are some unusual characters.
Well, just example, I had what I thought was a UFO investigator contacted me last year, and he asked if I would take him around the forest and show him some of these locations. The locations you don't normally hear about on the TV or the radio, basically. So, while we was talking, he said, yeah, so I'll get Brenda, see if Brenda will come with us. And he was quite impressed to think that Brenda Butler was going to be there. Well, I picked him up from the train station, me and Brenda. We took him to the forest. He had his camera and was talking this and that. And we thought he was a UFO investigator. But then, when we got back in the car, he took us out to dinner. There was a clicking sound in his top pocket. And we thought, obviously thought we wasn't watching. He pulled out a recorder, and they'd been recording us.
Wow.
And he changed it was a tape recorder one, where he changed the tape over, and little, I don't know what you call them, ones with little tiny tape in them. And he had been changing the tape over. I'd seen him messing around for a few hours with something, but I didn't know what it was. And he recorded us, and I thought, what on earth is this guy doing? Recording
That was
us?
pretty puzzling, wasn't it? I guess, did it scare you?
Well, after what we've experienced there, that is nothing, to be honest with you. Do you know what I mean? we've after encountered what we've encountered there, when we've all encountered it, not just me, the pure number of people that have seen, not just ET UFO stuff and UFOs, but paranormal stuff, are in the hundreds now, hundreds of people, not one or two or small groups, hundreds. I mean, I had one group, I think it was 8 or 9 of us, and we encountered 2 shadows that night, and they just followed us around. I mean, we had a whole group of mediums with us, and they were totally shocked. You know, normally, mediums and spiritualists, they say go to a house where there might be 1 or 2 spirits, but when you go into a forest that's full of them, and ETs, it gets confusing. I mean, I couldn't be honest with you. I'm not even sure what I see, whether it was ETs, they look like ETs to me, or paranormal, like spirits. You know, you think, well, what's what? How do you know the difference? You know?
When you see these apparitions or these holograms, do you ever notice that there are, do you ever notice anything in the skies, or does anybody ever see any lights when you experience these things?
Yes, on the night of me and my brother and my son, it was a full moon, to be honest, and the full moon was, we was looking directly towards a full moon. It was October time, and the moon was low down, and it didn't light up the forest when these things appeared. But the actual biggest thing that I've noticed was the owls. When we got there, the owls were going mad. They were hooting and carrying on. Never heard them make so much noise. Never before and never since. I've heard them, but not like that night. That night they were going mad. Well, since then, when I've gone through my photographs, I found, and then not all the pictures, but a lot of pictures, I often get what we call the ghost owl appear. It's a massive thing. It must be 5 foot tall, and it's like a hologram.
That's big.
Yeah, it's like, as we call it, the ghost owl. Well, I told Brenda Butler about this and said, like, about the owls. Anyway, we've gone back over her photographs, and she's got several thousand photographs. And she'd never noticed it before, but in a lot of her photographs, the owl appeared. Now, I'm sure you and the listeners are aware of the link between owls and ETs.
Yes.
And it is spot on, it is true. I've got pictures of the ghost owl. In actual fact, give another example. An author called Wayne Herschel, I've got his book here, he done a book called Hidden Records. In fact, he's done quite a few books. And basically, they were where monuments on the ground, or in the case of Rendlesham, we've got a place called Sutton Hoe, which is an ancient burial ground, where the mounds marry up with a group of stars in the sky. And he's found these dotted all over the world. Well, in his book, he'd put down about, they match up with an owl, about this owl figure. So I contacted him and said, we've got pictures of a real owl, a ghost owl, do you know what I mean? And he was fascinated. I mean, what he'd found was to do with astrology and the stars and ancient monuments. That was what he concentrated on. But when I said, well, we could get this giant ghost owl, it keeps appearing. And it's like, now I believe it's an ET, at least one ET, and it stands there and watches you. And you think you're looking at a giant owl, but that's not actually an owl, it's an ET. Now, I've had some really good channelers look at some of these pictures, and they said, that's not an owl, that's an ET.
Sort of sounds like a guardian, like it's a guardian of the land or something.
Well, it seems to appear in certain places. Now, we've got places which we think are total gateways to like portals. We've got a few of these dotted around the forest. And normally, near these gateways, if you like, is where we've captured the ghost owl on film. I call it a ghost owl. I don't know how else to describe it. It is a giant owl, and it sits in a tree, and it's about 5 foot. Its size is massive. But it's like, it is a hologram type thing. It's not actually a solid owl. We've got owls here in the UK, but nothing to this size. This is ginormous.
Is it a specific color?
It appears like hologram, like whitish colour. Normally, it's always white, what I've seen. But we've got pictures of everything you can imagine. If you see some of our pictures, they're frightening. I mean, frightening. We've got pictures of just about every type of ET you can imagine, but they all appear in a hologram effect. I mean, we get people say, oh, that's smoke, that's this, that's crap. It's not. We can sense when these things are about. That's why we take the pictures. We don't just walk around going click, 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 click all over the bleeding place. Do you know what I mean? You get a sense that there's something standing there looking at you, and we take pictures of it. I mean, you have to sort of be on the same level to actually see these things. I can't actually see them properly yet. I can see them out the corner of my eye, but Brenda Butler is so good at it, and I might add she's got an alien implant as well.
That is so interesting. We're going to take a short commercial break, and we'll be right back with our guest, Derek Savory.
Oh, yes, you know that today is Live Talk Tuesday. Thank you so much for being here on Engage Life Radio. We're happy to have you. Sit back and enjoy the talk. And don't forget to call in at 918-894-6884, or you can always check in on our chat room in the lower right corner of the website. And if you're not listening on your phone, but you want to be, download the app Live 365 and just type in Engage Life Radio, and there we are. Listen in all day for Live Talk Tuesday. Thanks for joining us on Engage Life Radio.
Welcome back with our guest, Derek Savory. And Derek is talking about some of the experiences that he's had in Rendlesham Forest and some of the holograms that he has been able to photograph. And my question is now, has anybody ever felt a physical touch from any of these apparitions?
Well, on one of the occasions when there was a group of us, my son was with me. He's like 30 now. And whole groups were standing around looking at, because we get plasma lights, not plasma lights, but orbs. We see a lot of orbs in the forest. Now they can be red, green, or sometimes goldy sort of colour. You get various colours of them. And this one night was a whole group of 8, 9 of us there was actually. And when we was looking, we turned around and there was one of these giant shadow soldiers with us. There's 2 of them actually, that joined in, following us around the forest. The mediums were petrified. Absolutely, mediums get away from the forest if they've got any sense, because they get messages and things. And my boy actually thought it was an actual real person. I went to touch it, and his hand passed through, and it just vanished. And because he thought it was someone standing in the way, and we couldn't really be seen. But my experience, and I can only talk in my experience, what we've seen have appeared really close to us, but they're not solid. They're like what a hologram type things. I mean, I've not actually seen anything solid, that I can actually go up and touch. But I'll just give you another example of something that happened. A month before my and our experience in Rendlesham Forest, I was at home, and I had this really spooked out feeling. I thought, what the heck is that? It felt like something was with me in the room, and it frightened me that much. I just made a cup of coffee. I went and sat in the garden. We're talking like 2 o'clock in the morning here. I went and sat in my garden. I thought, well, if anything's going to get me, there's only 2 ways to get into my garden, either side. So I thought, either fight or run. And I sat there frightened. I thought, what is this? What's happening? And I sat there and finished my coffee, and I come 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm freezing cold now. I'll have to go back in. So I've gone back indoors. Nothing. Next morning, I got up 8 o'clock in the morning, drew the curtains, looked up, and there was a circular UFO above my house, a solid craft UFO, just hovering above my house. I thought, blimey, and I watched it, and in the distance there was a plane flying along, firing out like these chemtrails, yeah? And that's been bothering me. I was getting quite worried about these chemtrails. This UFO flew across the sky, and when it got level with the plane that was flying the chemtrails stopped. The plane carried on flying, but there was no chemtrails coming out the back. And I've watched all this, and at the time I hadn't got cameras like I have now, so I didn't catch it on film. But I reported it to a few UFO groups, and a friend of mine, he said, oh, you're fucking laughing, yeah? He's what I typed into Google. He said, anybody else has seen it? Come up on Google, won't it? So he Googled it in, and sure enough, not only people seen it, they'd also filmed it. Not actually filmed, actually in London, which is 60 miles from me, roughly, three UFOs were filmed in the sky, and then they shot off in different directions, and one came over my way, and it was filmed by some people not far from where I live.
That's interesting.
They're actually caught on their camera phones and that. Not the best you've seen. It wasn't like proper cameras where I could zoom in. They just caught them early morning. And I think I see it at just around 8 o'clock in the morning. And in London, they'd filmed at 7:30. And when you put together the times that people had filmed it, it's right. Do you know what I mean? The time scale was right. And I was quite pleased I'd seen it. But to me, it was like a message. Oh, that's the other thing I was going to say. When I sat out in my garden in the early morning, like freezing cold, 2 o'clock in the morning, an owl turned up and was hooting, right? Now, I haven't got any owls where I live. I've got all sorts of birds, and I know what birds I've got in my area because I feed the birds. And an owl turned up and kept hooting. The whole hour that I sat out in the garden, there was an owl there, and I'm sitting there thinking, wish I could understand what this owl's saying because it's hooting and carrying on. And then presently the next day, I see a UFO. And then a month later, when I had the encounter with my son and brother, once again, the owls are going mad. Well, we've now realised in Rendlesham Forest, the owls mean something. When the owls are kicking off and going mad, that lets you know there's something about. And the ghost owl turns up.
Well, you know, there's a possibility. You know, they say animals have a keen sense of hearing, and they're much more astute than humans are when something strange or different is coming around. Perhaps they can hear something, or, you know, it's just their sense, you know, that something is different in the forest, so to speak.
I mean, when we walk through the forest, for instance, at night, we don't normally have our torches on. We carry torches with us, but we normally do it in the dark. Because what we've found is, especially the shadows, these things show up and they follow you around, and we get the other ghostly apparitions that show up. But when you start putting torches on, they seem to vanish. So we don't put torches on unless we really have to. But having said that, one night when I was with my son and my brother, we come unstuck, not having our torches on. We walked up into Rendlesham Forest, and the bird flew out of a tree, and we sort of jumped back because this pigeon or something flew out of a tree. And about 10 yards from us, there was a crack, a branch snapped off a tree. So we flicked the torches on, and it was a big black cat that fell out the tree. Obviously, the cat was sitting in the tree, and the branch snapped, and it fell out the tree. And we had it in our torches, and we thought, blimey, a black cat. I mean, they're not supposed to be in this country, but they are. And what's more, it ran round us.
Are you talking about a house cat or like
No, like Puma, something like Puma.
That kind of cat. That
Yeah,
had to
big
be
cat.
scary.
Yeah, but it gets better. When it sort of ran in a half moon round us, there was another one sitting there. There was two of them. And we thought, oh my God. So we backed up, and one of the cats literally just stalked us. It walked along about 10 yards away, the other side of some trees, and it followed us. And we walked back to get back to the car. So we walked back to the car park. I was getting in my car, my brother-in-law was getting his car. I mean, boy, being a bloody idiot, said, look, Dad, it's watching us. And it was the other side of the road, just sitting there staring at us. And he's got it in his torch, and I'm saying, look, get in the frigging car. You bloody idiot. It's like a Puma. You know what I mean? Like, get in the car. Well, you know, he's like 30 there. Don't mean like he's going to take a lot of notice of me, isn't he? So he's got his torch on, and eventually the cat just wandered off. But I couldn't believe it. So you have to be a little bit careful. You know, they're not supposed to exist here in the UK, but there are a lot of wild cats here, like pumas and big cats. People who say that they don't exist.
How many people would you say visit? Well, first of all, how big exactly is Rendlesham Forest?
It's miles. We're talking miles and miles.
Miles.
It's very big.
Would you say 50 to 100 people come a week to visit in the area that you are familiar with, or is it more than that?
I would say at least that, yes. In the summer, you get a lot more because there's a campsite right in the middle of the forest. It's only a small campsite, but yes, you get easily 100 a week. Probably a lot more than that because it's quite accessible. It's obviously there's roads all round the forest, and there's the main road by East Gate, the famous East Gate that the Yanks used to use to come in and out the back gate of the air base. Although the air base isn't used as such now, it's British MOD that have got it now, and they've got Apache helicopters there.
Yeah,
so
I wanted to ask you. Yeah, I wanted to ask you what was going on at the Air Force Base. Is it still functioning as it did, back in the 80s when, the famous forest incident happened, or is it dormant?
It's changed now because the Americans were based here. There's two air bases, basically. They're a couple of miles apart. You've got Bentwaters and Woodbridge. Woodbridge was built in the 1940s during the Second World War, and it's massive. It was used as a crash landing site for damaged planes, basically, during the war, so they could crash land at Rendlesham. They didn't always make the air base. Often they crashed in the forest. But then when Americans made a base here, they used it because obviously you get big planes in, and they also built the other one, which was Bentwaters. Well, the Woodbridge one now is just used by the British military, and they've literally just got Apache helicopters, and they use them for training here. And the other base, the Bentwaters one, which is about 2 miles away, that is now still locked up. It's still an air base, but it's private. It seems to be private owned. There's a lot of TV studios there. There's 1 or 2 businesses there. The actual airfield is still operational in as much that the only plane that takes off there is an old-fashioned Spitfire, actually. We've got a
wow,
woman,
that's old.
we've got a woman that flies a Spitfire. She owns a Spitfire, and she's got it based at Bentwaters. But basically, the only
cool. It's a woman. That's impressive.
Yeah. And she wants to see her hold it hand in the plane as well. She does acrobats and all sorts in this Spitfire. It's really impressive. She can handle that, all right.
Oh, I think so.
The actual Bentwaters Air Base is used for film crews. I mean, several films like Fast and Furious, that was filmed there. A few of their films have been done there. Fast and Furious.
Oh, I bet not a lot of people knew that. I didn't know it.
No, there's quite a few films that have done it because it's a big air base, and all the buildings are still there. Also, they are on Woodbridge, actually. Woodbridge is the same, actually. They've still got the buildings there. But yeah, a lot of films crews use it for films, and we've got a program over here called Top Gear, where they race cars, and they often do that at Bentwaters because they've got the length of the runway to do drag racing and all sorts, and That's basically what the base is used for. They're not used by the military too much, although the military still have a presence here. They do at Woodbridge anyway.
Well, tell me, does anybody ever take video recorders or use their cell phone and tape any of these expeditions into the forest, when they have these sightings? Has anybody been able to get anything on film yet?
Yes, they have, actually. There's been a few. One of the best was when Brenda Butler was there again. See, what a lot of people don't realise is, in the forest, when you go to take a picture, very often the cameras won't work, and all the torches, actually. These energies can just shut your cameras down just like that. We've had one night, for example, there was 3 of us with cameras. I actually had 2 cameras, actually, and there's 2 people with me at the same time to take pictures, but generally speaking, they can just shut your cameras down. But in, I think it's 2000, there's a group of people here, and there was the author, John Hanson, who's author of the Haunted Skies volumes.
Oh, yes, he's going to be on my show again soon.
Well, he caught on video, along with Brenda Butler.
And we're going to break. We'll be back just in a little bit.
You have been listening to Skywatchers with Debra Jayne East. Contact us, skywatchersfacebook.com or Alien Chronicles for more information.
Something strange was happening in Lilydale, New York. Marina Jacobs went there to search for the one true man that she loved.
Welcome to the Sky Voicemail.
Too bad he wasn't human. This is author Debra Jayne East. My paranormal romance book, Radiance Love After Death, is available on Amazon worldwide and modernlovebooks.com. True love is not just for the living.
Oh yes, you know that today is Live Talk Tuesday. Thank you so much for being here on Engage Life Radio. We're happy to have you. Sit back and enjoy the talk. And don't forget to call in at 918-894-6884, or you can always check in on our chat room in the lower right corner of the website. And if you're not listening on your phone but you want to be, download the app Live 365 and just type in Engage Life Radio, and there we are. Listen in all day for Live Talk Tuesday. Thanks for joining us on Engage Life Radio.
Yes, I can hear you. We had got disconnected on Skype, but I think we're back strong now. So it sounds like... Yeah, go ahead.
I was saying that this year I bought some new camera equipment, and what I intend to do with the people we've got with us is to do some more proper documentary stuff. Obviously it's not professional because it's me with a camera, but basically with some of the people and with Brenda Butler, show people what we actually do then, and see if we can show them some of the things that we've seen. I mean, one thing, for instance, happens quite a lot is where we get stones, we call it a bort or port from the air. You're walking along and all of a sudden a stone falls from nowhere and land on the ground, and it's red hot. You can't touch it until it's cooled down. Well, I've got 4 of those stones now. Brenda's got hundreds of them. But it's quite amazing. You think they come from nowhere. They just...
How big are they?
Just want to fall. They used to think it was They thought it was paranormal behaviour. The stones come down. I personally don't. I think it's to do with ETs. But
what colour are they?
All different sorts. I mean, I've got 4 here. I've got white one, brown one, grey one, and another one that's sort of a mixture of colours.
Wow. Derek, I would love it if you get a chance to take a picture of those, and if you could put them on our Skywatchers radio page. I think our listeners would love to see those. I know I would.
Yeah, I mean, just an example, one day there was a group of people there, and you can ask for the stones to appear, and very often they don't. They don't. If you use bad language, they don't, funny enough. Right? Seriously, no. But one day there was a group of people there, and they all wanted to see a stone fall. Anyway, they wandered all around the forest. They're walking out to East Gate, and a stone fell out of the sky in front of them, hit the ground, and 2 guys were arguing over this stone because both of them wanted it. For us regulars, we've all got the stones, but for people that only pop down there once in a blue moon. You know, it was obviously a novelty to see it happen. And these two guys were arguing over it, but they couldn't pick it up because it's too hot. You have to wait for it to cool down. And while they were arguing, it split in half. So they had a stone each. Actually split in half. Can you believe that?
It must have really been hot.
Well, I can't understand it. It was as if, so they could have a stone each, it just cut in half.
Just broke in two. Has anybody ever did any kind of analytics on these stones to find out anything about them?
No, I don't think they have, actually. I mean, some people won't touch them because they thought it was paranormal activity. I really don't know. I think it's to do with ETs. But besides that, a few months ago I was with a group of mediums in the forest, and I took them to a certain area in the forest, and we stood in a circle just talking. We wasn't doing any fancy trying to contact anything. We were just standing talking, and a piece of wood come from nowhere and I mean stuck in the ground, went in about 4 or 5 inches deep, right in the middle of us. We just stood there gobsmacked. It was like someone had thrown a spear right in the middle of us all, and we just stood there, looked one day, and we couldn't believe what we'd just seen. I've got the stick as well. I brought it home.
Well, that's really odd, but I will tell you this, Derek, you'll think this is odd. When I was growing up, my father was sitting on the front porch of our house with the landlord, and there were no trees close to my house, none at all. And out of the blue, an apple bounced off the roof onto the ground in front of them. And my father said, Mr. Tabor, did you see that? Where did that apple come from? And Tom said, well, I don't know. And my dad said, well, it must have been lodged up there. Maybe somebody threw it and it was stuck and it just rolled down. And right when he said that, another apple hit the roof. So they walked around the whole house and there was nobody around and no trees. So, yeah, odd things like that can happen with no explanation.
I mean, just an example, everyone had talked about these stones, and it was a few months before I got a stone. And the first stone I got didn't actually fall as such. We went to a portal area. There's certain areas in the forest we don't take people to unless they're really, really experienced, because that's where certain things appear, yeah? We know we can go to certain places and things will appear, like a portal type place, if you like, yeah? These things appear and they just stand there watching you. Now, if you see, I've got some even better pictures of stuff now, and you think, my God, what is that? It's a person, you know? They're not, I mean, someone said, is that photoshopped? I mean, I wouldn't know how to do Photoshop if I bleeding see it, do you know what I mean? You're not actually, you know. But in fact, things happen that often. It's got to the stage where we didn't even bother taking cameras. Honestly, yeah, so often you think, oh, God. Anyway, I'd said to Brenda about wanting a stone, you know, and so I said, well, hopefully one will fall for you. She said, well, we went to this particular place and we asked for a stone. And where we was, we'd left a crisp packet to mark an exact spot, yeah? And I said, well, can I have a stone? And we stood there looking at the crisp packet, hoping the stone would fall in the crisp packet. And it didn't. So we wandered off. Anyway, we went back there 2 days later. And sure enough, there was a stone on the crisp bag. When I got there, I couldn't believe it. And it was the first stone I got. Since then, I've had 3 come down in front of me, and I've actually physically seen it come through the air. They never hit you, though.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, they're not little stones. Some of these are quite big. I mean, the biggest one I've got is probably, I don't know, 2 inches, or two of them about 2 inches long. About an inch and a half wide. You know, they're not little. If they hit you, they'll probably knock you out. But
is it in the daytime that you usually find them, or is it at night?
It doesn't seem to make any difference, day or night. The trouble is, when they fall at night, you can't always find them. Like, one fell one night, the last one I got, it fell on the road, and it hit the road, and then bounced into the grass verge. And the reason we found it, we had to put a torch on trying to find it. The reason we found it was because it was hot. Because other stones about, but there was only one that was hot, so we got the right one.
There's definitely something strange going on with ETs and stones, and I had a CE5 group from San Diego on a couple of weeks ago, and I was holding 2 stones in my hand that were geodes. And I was just sort of thinking about, meditating while they were talking thing. And afterwards, I don't know why I did this. I don't know why. I took my camera and I took 2 close-up pictures of the stones, and they were both sparkling. They are sort of, the purple color. And
mine do that sometimes.
Yeah, and I started enlarging the pictures, and I enlarged about, I guess it was probably about 25 times I enlarged the picture, and both stones had 2 different pictures, and I posted them on the Skywatcher page. One of them is a picture of a Native American. It's the outline of a Indian with the headdress on, and the other one, I kid you not, Derek, it looks like a ET. It has 2 large eyes, rounded head. It looks like an ET. And when I sent this to the CE5 team, they were like blown away. And I have no idea how that happened. So I totally believe you when you talk about the stones.
So we tried an experiment one night with a guy in America. I sent him a couple of these stones, and we tried an experiment one night, and I was in England and he's in the US. Unfortunately, he died last year, but we done this experiment, and I was showing a group of people around, and this is a particular area you never see on TV. It's where nothing grows. It's where a craft had landed, nothing grew for like 30-odd years. Only this year, or last year, something started to grow there. We took a group of people in, which I managed to get lost, as usual. When you get to these certain areas, right, you lose your sense of where you are. It's like a strange energy, yeah? You lose all sense of consciousness. I can't explain it. And
it's like you're in a trance, sort of.
All of us, yeah, we all do. I mean, I'm the one who... I ain't Brenda, actually. She was with me. I mean, you go to leave and you think, well, hang on, how do we get into here? And you lose what you're doing. You lose your way. So a few times I've got people lost. But what this particular night, I managed to get everybody out this particular area back onto the main track after performance. I thought, not again. It's getting really embarrassing, this, isn't it? You're supposed to know your way about it and you keep getting lost in this particular part of the wood. Anyway, Brenda pulled me to one side and whispered something in my ear. The next day, the guy in America told me what she said. I said, how did you know that? And what it was, he said, you had your stone with you, which I did. I had one of the stones with me. And he had his stones, and he said that via the stones, he got a message from stones his end, from the ET, and they told him exactly what Brenda had said to me. And he was spot on. He told me some other things that happened that night, and there's no way in a million years could he possibly have known that. Nobody could. Even the group with us didn't know what Brenda said because she whispered it to me. So these stones have got more, there's more to them than meets the eye.
Yes. I mean, please. Now, I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight unless I see pictures of those stones. I'm just so intrigued. Yeah, I am so intrigued by that because... if I hadn't have seen this happen with me the other week, I would not have believed it. And I took pictures and, those pictures, and I immediately sent them to the team and posted them on Skywatchers. But I don't know how it happened. I don't. It just did. And so I'm very interested in the stones. That's, I think there is a connection.
We had a group from America from CE5 here last year, actually, because Brenda joined them for a while. But because that's a bit long-winded and a lot of meditation, the way they do their stuff, Brenda spent a few days with them but wasn't willing to give up coming to the forest with us to go with them all the time. So they done their own thing, like a lot of groups. Do you
remember anybody that was in the team? It wasn't Stephen Greer's team, was it?
It was part of one of his team. It wasn't actually him, but yes, they were quite close to him. It was all kept a big secret. They stayed in a place close to the forest, and they weren't actually operating in the forest. They were operating in this big house where they were staying. I don't understand quite why they done that, because the way we do our stuff, we go to the forest, to certain areas in the forest, because it's an ancient area. This is where I don't agree necessarily with the way CE5 do it, because they seem to go anywhere to do their stuff. Whereas I think we get results just going to certain areas in the forest. We don't need, they seem to go anywhere and get results. We've got the same results in the forest without all the meditation bit. I can't meditate very well, so it counts me out a bit. We've got stuff appear. I've even asked stuff to appear, and it's appeared. But I'll tell you, you say you've got John Hanson on the show, coming on some stage.
Yes, he's wonderful. Love his books.
When you speak to John Hanson, though, he's seen the stones come down, right? He's known Brenda Butler for 20-odd years. He actually stays with Brenda when he comes down the forest. He was here a few weeks ago, actually, funny enough. Just asked him about the stones, all right, and what he's seen. Oh,
yeah.
Because he's seen the stuff himself. He doesn't do what we do. This year I'm going to look a lot more closely in things, because I've since discovered esoterics, the power of the universe, and found we can actually do strange things.
You're right. But, these stones are a sort of evidence, and anything that is evidence, I think, should be investigated. So I hope someone will definitely try to investigate, about these stones. It's very intriguing.
Besides the stones, we had some metal that was supposed to have come from some UFOs. I'll let John Hanson tell him about them, because he's actually held the bit. I've held one of the pieces. Then they gave them to him. They're being tested now.
Oh, well, I want to hear more about that. We're going to take another short commercial break, and we'll be back with our guest, Derek Savory.
Looking for a good time? ModernLoveBooks.com. The one place to find that special book for that special time. ModernLoveBooks.com.
Something strange was happening in Lilydale, New York. Marina Jacobs went there to search for the one true man that she loved. Too bad he wasn't human. This is author Debra Jayne East. My paranormal romance book, Radiance: Love After Death, is available on Amazon worldwide and modernlovebooks.com. True love is not just for the living.
Thank you for being a part of the Engaged Life family. Welcome home.
And we're back. And Derek, you were telling us about the metal that's being tested. Let me know more about that. That's very interesting.
Well, it's John Hanson's handling that side of it, so I'll let him tell you about it. But one of the pieces, I'll quickly tell you one of the pieces, is very big. It looks like molten aluminium, but it's not aluminium. It's too heavy for aluminium. I used to work with a lot of metal work, so I know molten aluminium when I see it. It looks like it's not. It's too heavy. The first round of testing, as I understand it, it wasn't normal commercial metals, yeah? So it's on it. Last I heard, it was having its second round of testing, more in-depth testing, because it wasn't a standard metal. It was molten metals, but not.
When do you expect to know the results?
Well, by the time John Hanson comes on, he might have some results for you. He was the man that was getting it tested. So really, I'll let him tell you about it. I mean, I've actually held it because I was there when he was giving it. Then about I handed it to him.
Well, we definitely want to hear about that. Derek, I know that you keep abreast of all the UFO-related incidents that's going on in your country, which seems to be quite an amount lately of sightings. Can you tell us of any recent sightings or anything that seems very peculiar or has some interesting facts?
Yeah, we had a sighting here a few months back, just up the coast a bit from here. And that was a UFO travelling along with two orbs behind it, yeah? and one of the halls seemed to explode, and a lot of people reported it, and then we found at the same time this happened, all flights were grounded. For a few hours, all flights were grounded in the UK. And the official excuse on the television was that the flights were grounded because of a technical problem with the I don't know what they call it, with the radar thing, yeah? The truth was, it was nothing to do with that. People reported this. I got a report straight through from a guy that sees a UFO, yeah? He lives in the area where it's in his Yarmouth area of Great Britain, which is just up the coast from Suffolk, basically. It's on the edge of Suffolk. And I got a report straight away. He said, go outside now. It's in the air now. I couldn't see it from where I was in Felixstowe, but a lot of people reported it. And then it came on the TV that all flights had been grounded, which is a bit coincidental, isn't it? You know what I mean? And that flights are coming out of the UK. But yeah, all the flights were grounded for a few hours. And they give that.
Well, that is an interesting case. I'm sure there's people that are, checking out information. Do you have a lot of friends that are interested in UFOs?
Yes, I mean, just about anybody in this and in America. Give example, I speak to Dr. Jonathan Reed quite a lot on the Facebook when I can. He was one of the famous guys in your country.
Uh-huh.
A lot of people try to discredit him like they do. Everybody they try to discredit in the UFO community. Hopefully he might even be coming over here in April. He sent me a message and he wanted to come to Rendlesham Forest with his team. He's got
I live in the town. I don't know if you ever heard of George Fawcett.
Yes, I have, yes.
Yes, I live in the town where he grew up in. And,
right.
Yeah, so in Mount Airy, North Carolina, and actually my daughter's mother-in-law was good friends with him, and she kept abreast of everything that was going on. But I remember a time when me and my family saw UFOs, and the very next day in the paper it reported that George was investigating. There was a mass sighting of UFOs. It wasn't just us. So, yeah, I guess everybody has people in their town or state that, keeps up with the UFOs. And I know I follow a lot of people on Facebook that are interested in UFOs.
I think I've got something like 250. I mean, a lot of people, unless I know them or know of them, then I don't accept them. But I think I've got about 250 odd people in the UFOs. I've got some quite big names on my Facebook. Because it's Rendlesham Forest, everybody's heard of Rendlesham Forest, basically.
Oh, yes.
But we're quite lucky because if we needed a group of people here, we can call a group of 40, 50 people to be there a certain night and they'll be there. So we can put a lot of feet on the ground, if you know what I mean, if we need to.
Uh-huh. Now, Derek, have you been working some co-hosting on Flame Radio?
I have occasionally, yes. Of course, I did. I don't know. I don't know if I told you last time. I actually had a live encounter with MRBs was live on Skype, on Flame Radio on Skype.
Oh, you're kidding!
Did I tell you? No,
no. Tell me.
Oh dear, I'll tell you quickly. I was talking to the host Russ Kellett, and we were Skyping, so he could see me obviously on camera, and I'd got a list of questions, a load of things I was going to talk about, and just before we went on air, something said to me, do not read that list. Right? I've still got the list, but I'm scared to read it on radio, but something, do not read the list. Of course, then I've gone live on air and talking to Russ, and I'm live on air, so I've had to ad-lib then. I thought, I don't know what said that. While I'm talking to Russ, he said, are you on your own, Derek? I said, yeah, I'm on my own. And he went white. He faced up against the camera, and the colour of his face just turned white. And then I thought, what's he looking at? And I've looked down, and now on the Skype you have a little screen showing yourself in the corner.
Uh-huh.
I found that there was two beings standing behind me. Two apparitions appeared in my house.
Oh,
standing behind me. And then it kicked off. They knocked my dog out, right?
Wow.
I don't know how they knocked my dog out. Then I come over faint. I thought, oh my God, what's going on? And I didn't know what to do. I thought, if I turn around, I've got a confrontation. And Russ was trying to talk to me on the radio. We got cut off Skype 3 times, yeah, and he's still trying to talk. He said, "You're right, because obviously he could see what's going on. Well, the listeners at Flame Radio could all hear what's going on. I've got both my phones going off. I've got my house phone, my mobile phone, and messages were coming in. Are you okay? What's going on? You know, and
you had chaos going on.
Oh, they put me down. They shut the show down. They actually ended the show because after they visited me, they went and paid us a visit, right? And they just closed the show down. I'll be honest with you, and my advice, I'll tell you this straight as what happened. We was talking about Templars, that's what I was going to talk about, was Templars and Freemasons.
Yeah.
Keep away from them areas because that's what brings in this stuff. That brings in some sort of dark energies. I've had a few run-ins with these what do we call them really? MIB, whatever.
Yes.
So I know now to keep away from those 2 areas, those 2 subjects. That's what they don't like.
Well, that is so incredible. I would have loved to have seen what your friend saw when he was looking at you on Skype.
Well, it frightened him. And another thing was, a couple of people were recording the show, and the show didn't come out. It didn't record. The show did not record. There's a group over here called Ovini, or Ovini, however you pronounce it. They were trying to record it, and one of them heard the whole commotion that was going on because he was one of the guys that rung me, and the thing didn't record, and no one managed to record it. The whole show,
well, Derek,
not only did it get closed down,
that is just so strange. We are out of time again. I tell you, it is always fascinating talking with you, Derek. Thank you so much for sharing about the stones, and I look forward to seeing those pictures on our Facebook page. And thank all our listeners for tuning in to Skywatchers Radio.
Yep, thanks for having me. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Derek.
Thanks to the listeners. Bye then. Bye.
You have been listening to Skywatchers with Debra Jayne East. Contact us, Skywatchers, Facebook.com, or Alien Chronicles for more information.
Thank you for being a part of the Engaged Life family. Welcome home.